When I was growing up, on Sunday mornings, my family and I would load up and pile into a place that looked pretty similar to this. We would sit in our seats and we would listen to somebody telling stories and talking about things that, in my little mind, didn't really matter. They weren't important. I didn't understand how they were going to impact me or anything like that. And then as I got older, I started realizing that some of the things I was hearing and some of the things they were talking about were really pretty important and had the ability to really change my life. I don't know about you, but some of you that may be your story too. Maybe you grew up and you went to church every week and you just kind of were thinking to yourself, how in the world does this matter to me? What does that have to do with anything? If that's you, and if it's not you, welcome to Sweetwater. Thank you guys for tuning in and jumping in to part 2 of a series that we started last week called Verses. A series that is kind of birthed out of this game that my wife and I used to play with youth when we were doing student ministry called Would You Rather? A game where you're faced with 2 horrible options that may leave you having to pick from the lesser of 2 evils. Something along the lines of, would you rather eat broccoli every day for the rest of your life or just eat sardines once a day for a week? If you're like me, maybe those things, neither one of those sounds very appetizing or even remotely like something you would want to do. And you feel like, well, I've got to pick one, so which one am I going to go to? We all make choices every single day, whether it's something as simple as, would you rather root for the Georgia Bulldogs or the Florida Gators? Would you rather root for the Atlanta Braves or the New York Yankees? Would you rather root for the New England Patriots or literally any other team in the NFL? We all have choices every single day. Some of those choices are inconsequential. They have no consequences to them, like whether or not you're going to brush your teeth, what color shirt you should wear. Should I wear shoes or flip-flops? But then there's the kind of choices that this series is really geared around. The choices that have consequences that affect the people around us and that even have the potential to affect us on a spiritual level. The things that affect our relationship with God and how God is able to use us. Last week, we mentioned a guy named Polonius, who was a character in the play Hamlet that was written by Shakespeare. And in the play of Hamlet, Polonius makes this famous quote where he says, "This above all else, to thine own self be true." Which sounds like a great idea. You know, absolutely, be true to you. Don't compromise who you are. Don't compromise what you think about yourself and what you believe. And at the surface level, it sounds great, but you have to consider the source. See, Polonius was one of these kind of people that was very self-absorbed. He was very arrogant. He loved to hear himself talk. And like I said, on the surface, it sounds great. Be true to yourself. But as a Jesus follower, as a Christian, and even really as a human being, it's kind of a dangerous thing to be in. So we have this choice to make. Would you rather be true to yourself or die to yourself? You have to choose being true to yourself versus dying to yourself. And see, as a Jesus follower, this is where the rubber meets the road for us. We get kind of confused. See, the book of Jeremiah, the prophet is writing and he says this in Jeremiah 17, verse 9. He says, the heart is deceitful above all things and it's desperately sick. Being true to yourself requires you to follow your heart. The problem is your heart is deceitful. It's sick. And then Jesus, in the book of Luke, in chapter 9, he kind of flips the script a little bit and he says, listen, if anybody's going to come after me, if anybody's going to follow me, if you're going to be one of my followers, if you're going to walk down the road that I'm walking down, you have to deny yourself and take up your cross daily and follow me. Jesus says, you have a choice to make. You can either be true to yourself or you can follow me. If you follow me, you have to deny yourself. You have to be willing to die to yourself. See, dying to self, we talked about last week, means letting go of what you want and what your desires are and letting God take the lead. We closed out by taking a look in the book of Proverbs in chapter 3, verses 5 and 6, where the writer Solomon says, trust in the Lord with all of your heart. Don't worry about whether anything makes sense or not. Just trust God, and He will make your path straight. He will direct you where you're going to go. And we walked away by saying, trusting God will always lead you to places you never knew that you wanted to be. It's such an amazing thing when we get there. I was thinking about this last week, and I kind of alluded to it at the beginning, but there comes a point in my year where I start thinking back on my life. And man, I was thinking back about what it was like to be a kid. Man, when I was a kid, life was easy. Life was fun. You got to play with your friends. You didn't have to worry about all the stuff, all the things that adults have to worry with. You don't have to worry about anything like paying bills. You don't have to worry about putting food on the table. You just get hungry. You should go to the cabinet. It's magically there. Or dinner time happens. You walk to the table and there's food there. For the most part, being a kid was easy. I could do whatever I wanted when I wanted. Things like skipping out on nap time and sneaking out of the back of the house to walk down to my friend's house to play, only to find out that he was taking a nap and that the door that I had snuck out of was now locked when I got home to teach me a lesson. Yeah, that happened. Thanks, Mom. I'll never forget it. Seriously though, being a kid, life was fun. It was easy. All the things that I wanted to do, I pretty much could do. And then I got married, and it was kind of the same way a little bit as a newlywed. I'm like, man, I don't have to worry about any of the stuff. It wasn't easy. It was hard, but it was fun being a newlywed, being able to go on new adventures with my wife and be able to experience things that I never thought I would experience, moving to a new place and seeing snow not for the first time, but seeing snow and driving around on mountain roads that I never even knew existed. We didn't have to worry about the things. We pretty much did what we wanted when we wanted because it was just us. And then 2004 happened, and things completely changed. In 2004, Raquel and I had gone home for Christmas, and we were there with our families and doing all the Christmas things, and Raquel looked at me and was like, I just don't feel right. Something just doesn't, I feel sick in the mornings. I feel kind of tired. Come to find out, she was pregnant. Merry Christmas to me. And I mean that we were so excited because we had just started praying a month earlier. God, if this is what you want for us, we're ready. We want to, we just want what you want, and we would love to be parents. So when you're ready, make it happen. He made it happen. And our world flipped upside down. In August of 2005, I was married to somebody new. It was still Raquel, but she was a new person. She was now a mom. And watching her over the next couple of days and weeks and months and now years into this with 3 kids that are here that we get to hold and 3 that are waiting on us in heaven, I started to get a really different picture of who God was. I started seeing things that I'd never noticed before. I started seeing a deeper, more clear and distinct picture of God that I had ever really noticed before. Let me explain what I mean. In John chapter 13, verse 3, Jesus is talking to his disciples and his apostles, and we've talked about this passage of scripture a lot over the last couple of months. But he says this, he says, "A new command I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you. And by this all men will know that you are my disciples, if you have love one for another." And then in John chapter 15, verse 13, Jesus says this, says, "Greater love has no one than this, that he would lay down his life for a friend." And then later on in the New Testament, in 1 John, different John, 1 John chapter 3, verse 16 says, "By this we know love, that he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers." Yeah. Watching my wife as a mom, as a mother, gave me such a different appreciation and different picture of what these verses are talking about. Not only did he lay this out for Christians, but he laid this out for moms. But what does it look like for us as believers? Jesus lays this picture out and he says, Love is something different than what you think. It says, look at how I loved people. Look at how I cared. Look at how I sacrificed. Look at how I forgave. Look at how I did everything. And then use that to determine how you interact with the people around you. Look at how I laid my life down for you on a daily basis. Kind of a stark contrast to what we live in today, isn't it? See, we live in a world that's very self-focused, very needy. We know what we want, when we want it, and we want what we want, when we want it. And we don't care, for the most part, what we have to do to get it. Jesus says it's something completely different. Jesus says, no. If you're going to be my follower, you have to be willing to lay yourself down. You have to be willing to lay what you want off to the side. Because people will know that you're my followers by the way that you love them, by the way that you lay your life down for them. We don't do a good job of this. But moms, man, you guys crush this. I watched my wife when this happened. I watched her do this, and she still does it. And I watch my mom, and I watch my mother-in-law, and all these other amazing women that are part of this church and have been part of my story over the years. They understand this. They get it because they love on a level that we just don't get. They are the embodiment of everything that Jesus talked about. Because laying your life down for somebody else is the ultimate expression of love. And a lot of times we as husbands, as men, we don't notice it. We don't notice everything that our wives and the mothers of our children and the other women that are a part of our world that pour into our kids. We don't notice it. So let me explain what I've noticed about what it looks like to lay your life down, especially for moms. See, moms, you lose hours of sleep right off the bat. Some estimates put it at 350 hours of sleep in the first year of a baby's life. You guys are up all night long. You are up consoling, rocking, feeding, changing, all the things that us dads, for the most part, don't realize. Because let's be honest, a lot of us just sleep right through it. You guys are there picking up and hugging and consoling when things go wrong. You're kissing boo-boos. You're kissing scrapes and hurts and using the magic of mommy kisses to make things all better. Sometimes you even sacrifice hot meals because you want to make sure that everybody else's food is hot on the table and that they're served. And you come back last and serve yourself. You cut up food for your kids. You help feed the baby, and then you eat. Sometimes, depending on the circumstances, you may even miss a meal altogether because maybe you're just in a situation where there's not enough food for you and everybody else. So you lay yourself down and make sure that they eat. Sometimes you may even lay down everything about who you are so that you can make sure everything is taken care of, the house, the clothes, the grocery shopping. And by the end of the day, you're so exhausted that maybe, just maybe, you lay down and fall asleep and don't even have the opportunity to get a shower that day. I see you. I see what you're doing. I see how you're laying your life down. And on behalf of everybody around the world and in our church family and our tribe, I just want to say thank you for being willing to lay your life down, to give us a deeper glimpse into who God is, to let us see him in a way that we never thought possible. You are a mirror image of what it looks like to love fiercely. Now, obviously, not all of us that are watching this right now are moms. And we're faced with the same choice. Should I be true to myself? Should I just be me? Should I just do what I want, when I want, how I want? Or should I lay my life down? What does that even look like? Well, for the rest of us, it may look a little bit like it does for the moms. Maybe, just maybe, you need to take a step back and look at the big picture. Let go of the selfishness and think briefly, what can I do to show someone else that they're more important than this? How can I show my wife that she is more important to me than watching this show? How can I show my kids that they are more important to me than playing this game on my phone? How can I show my neighbor that they are more important to me than me just being at home locked away? How can I show my parents that they matter? See, we spend a whole lot of time looking at what it looks like for us to do what we want when we want. But in order for us to really be Jesus followers, we have to choose. Would you rather be true to yourself? Would you rather just do you? Or lay your life down to show people that you love them? You can't have it both ways. Just doing you and the life that you want means putting yourself first, without a care in the world. Dying to yourself means putting others first, so that they can see Jesus in you. So which one is it going to be today? Will you start thinking about the big picture and start focusing on dying to self? Or will you keep walking through life as if nobody else in the world exists? The choice is up to you. I can't make it for you. All I know is this: Jesus said, no greater love has anyone than this, than he would lay down his life for a friend. And then he looked at his followers and said, and I call you my friends. Who are your friends? And will you lay your life down for them to show as fierce of a love as Jesus showed us? And as our moms show us every day. Let's pray. Father, thank you. Thank you for loving us in a way that we don't deserve. Thank you for sacrificing for us and being willing to lay down your life for your friends. Father, I pray that over these next few moments, as the band sings and as we just take a few moments to just kind of reflect on everything, I pray that you would start bringing people to our mind that we can lay our lives down for, little by little, to show them how much you love them. Father, I pray that you would speak And I pray that we would hear you. Give us a deeper glimpse into who you are and how much you love us, because God, your love is fierce. It's like a tidal wave just pouring over us. All evidenced by the fact that you laid down your life for us.